Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. The retro game that I want to look at today is Punch-Out!, or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, I love this game. I have played this game through several times at this point. I used to play it as a kid, and I would only get so far. I could never beat the fighters that my brother was able to beat. I would always get within one of what he could do, and I couldn't quite make it to the next fight. And I would lose, and I would get frustrated, and I would go back and quit, and then I have to go back later on and play it again. I finally finished it a couple of years ago on the Nintendo the Nintendo Switch online system where you can play it. I actually did it without any save stating or anything like that. I just did I'd do a quick save just so I'd had a file ready to go between cups, but I figured out all the fights, I put in my work, and I finally beat the game. And I just want to talk about it because it's one of my favorite Nintendo Entertainment System games of all time. I had great memories of playing this as a kid. I remember my brother showing me this game, and we went to my uncle's house at one point, and he showed us how to beat the Great Tiger. His spinning attack that he does, by figuring out the timing and how to block and everything, was such a cool thing. I miss the days where word of mouth is how you figured out how to beat stuff, or someone had the magazine that gave you the information that you needed. I miss those days because I thought they were really, really fun. So I want to talk about each of these fighters. I've got them written down, so I might be glancing up every now and again here, just so I don't miss any of them, because I really like this game. I want to talk about what makes it so special. So you play as Little Mac in this game. This was his debut. A really small fighter, little pink shorts, and the green gloves, and you're going up against people that are much bigger than you for the most part. There are a couple smaller fighters, but most of the time you're coming up against really big guys, all the way up until Mike Tyson, who is the final boss in the original NES version. Later on, when they had to do re-releases and stuff, it's Mr. Dream, because they don't have the rights to Mike Tyson anymore, have him as a character. But the original one, you're fighting Mike Tyson, which is a fight I actually still have not completed myself. I did the research, I tried figuring it out. It was just too brutal for me. I was planning on coming back, and I never did. So I'd like to go and finish that at some point, but that one was a little bit too much for me. But first and foremost, you start off with a really easy fight with Glass Joe. That's right. You fight off with Glass Joe. Really simple fight. It's pretty much just showing you the basics. He has really very obvious patterns of attack. He gives you lots of time to react. You'll learn how to dodge. You can learn how to block. You learn how to get your sweet spots. If you hit the opponent in certain timings, you'll get a little star, which gives you a super punch that you can punch them. It does a lot of damage too, especially if they're in stun. You hit them, you can knock them out with these. Really, really cool mechanic where if you figure out the specific timing for interrupting somebody else's attack, you get a star, gives you this extra punch. I really like how it works. You can dodge to right or left, you can block, and then you can do uppercuts or punches to the gut as well. And it's very formatted with just like a boxing match. You have Mario as your referee in the middle. You have time between rounds. If you don't KO your opponent in the first round, you'll get a little cutscene where both of the Doc, your trainer, talks to you, and the other guy says some quippy remark, and then you go back into the ring. It's a really cool format. I think they captured the spirit of boxing pretty darn well. And it's really cool to be this little David versus Goliath in most of these matches here. After you finish Glass Joe, you go up against Von Kaiser, which is just a little step up. Not too difficult, but it does kind of push you back into figuring out how to beat a new fighter who has new patterns, new little gimmicks and such. And then you move on from him to Piston Honda, which is your first fight against this guy. He's really large. He's pretty fast. I really like his design. That's one thing I should talk about. Each of these characters have a really unique design. They look really fantastic as well. And I think that they really capture the essence of the character that they're trying to portray. Piston Honda is very cool, very stoic, very fast. Once you figure out his stuff, once you beat Piston Honda, you kind of have the basics that you need to move on for the rest of the game. You'll know everything you need to know. Once you get past that first true boss of the game, this is the first minor league fight that you're trying to do. Once you beat him, then you move on to the next group of people, and you should be well equipped enough to deal with the new threats that you go against. So the next fight, you do Don Flamenco, who's this really wispy guy, but he's really he's harder to hit. He's a really interesting design. I like him a lot. He's really funny. A nice introduction to this next circuit that you're going on. Then you fight King Hippo, who is a very unique fighter in the sense that he's really big, and if you try and hit him at certain times, he'll just absorb the blow and just laugh at you. And you have to get a specific specific timing when you can hit him in the stomach, make him drop his pants, and then you just hit him over and over and over again. It's really a funny fight. I love King Hippo. I think he's a really bizarre guy. He's just this giant, like, blob looking thing. Very funny. I like the design. I like how he's very gimmicky, very unique. And if you don't figure out how to do anything, you're just going to get run over because he'll just destroy you. There's nothing you can do. If you get blocked on a hit, you lose a heart point that you have. Like, you have a certain amount of these points. And once you get to 0, you're exhausted and you cannot block anymore. You can only dodge. You can't punch. So it's really crucial to be like conserving your stamina as much as possible and hitting only when you feel like you can get guaranteed stuff. And so this is a fight to kind of test your knowledge of how to work around some of these things, trying to figure out a new mechanic of a character. This is like one of the first really big major obstacles that you face. After him, you'll fight Great Tiger, who is another gimmick fight where he spins around in a circle. You see like a bunch of him at a time. He spins really fast and you have to block at a certain timing. And then once you've figured out when to block, you can get the timing over and over again. Then he'll be confused. You can knock him out. It's a really great fight because it's one of those, again, that if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to get hit over and over and over again and go down. You'll think this is really unfair. But experimentation is key in this game, and learning your opponent's weaknesses is a key to overcoming. That's what I love about Punch-Out here. The last one is going to be Bald Bull in this circuit, who is very tough, very fast. He'll knock you out with his charge move. Once you figure out the timing for knocking him out, you can actually one punch him if you get the timing exactly right. But if you miss, he's going to knock you out. It's a really like very glass cannon kind of matchup. It's a very fun fight. It's very difficult, and beating him leads you on to the final circuit of fighters. You'll start off with Piston Honda again, who has come back from the original league. He is much harder. He is much faster. He's a very fun fight. He has new gimmicks and everything. He's a very fun fight to do over. You also have Soda Popinski, who I think is probably one of the coolest designs. I remember him very vividly from my childhood. I remember my brother trying so hard to beat him, and him just being a little bit too difficult to overcome. And then when I finally beat him myself much later on in life, I felt so cool because I'm like, yes, I remember when this was such a hard guy to fight, and now I'm overcoming him. Really fast, really big, like long sweeping attacks. His design is hilarious. He's very pink. He like gets some really good jabs in you in like the in-between rounds. He's very hard to KO. A very fun and well-designed fight. One of the most difficult in the game for sure. Then you'll refight Bald Bull. His second fight is much more difficult. You'll also have a second one against Don Flamenco. Again, way more difficult. You wouldn't expect Don Flamenco to come back, but he does. He's much harder that second time around. And then you'll fight Mr. Sandman, who I think is probably the hardest fight in the game. I know there's one more fight after him before Mike Tyson. This is excluding Mike Tyson, since he is clearly the hardest fight in the game. Mr. Sandman was one that took me probably 5 or 6 tries to overcome him. He is really difficult to read. He has really fast attacks. He is very strong. He will knock you out very quickly. He's one of those that, again, if you cannot figure out his pattern, he will knock you out over and over again, and you'll just go straight down. And it's a really fun thing to overcome him. Then you'll go up against Super Macho Man, who is like a crazy attacking guy. Again, crazy power. He has like a big sweeping, like spinning around attack that you have to like gauge how many times he's going to swing around, and you have to punish in time. His windows for punishing him are very small. He is a very difficult fight. I think he's not quite as hard as Mr. Sandman was. I think I beat him in a couple of tries. But he was very cool as well. And then you move on, of course, to the Mike Tyson fight, which if you've watched anybody play this game and actually beat him, it is ridiculous. He has kill power like nobody's business. Much better than anybody else in this game. He can kill you in a couple of hits flat, and he's much faster. You have basically no time to react. You can't really block. There is so little room for error in this fight. That's why I've never done it myself. Again, I need to go back and do it because I know I can. It's just, it's so punishing, and every little mistake will cost you a round, which is terrible, or cost you a down. You can get up 2 times. If you get knocked out the third time, you get a knockout, and that's the end of it. If you get like too beat up, you won't be able to mash hard enough to get up anyway, and you'll get a technical knockout. So this fight is ridiculous. But overcoming all these obstacles feels so fantastic. This is one of those games way back in the day that was super, super hard. You didn't know probably anybody that had gotten all the way up to Mike Tyson, let alone beat him. So finding out the little secrets and everything, the word of mouth in order to beat all of these people was so satisfying. I love this game for that reason. And I love going back and revisiting it now. I still think it's probably the strongest one in the series. I've played Super Punch-Out on the SNES. I think that one's incredibly fun too. I've played the Wii one. I still think the original is just something really unique and beautiful, and they captured it so well. I love the eclectic cast of characters. I think they implemented the fights very, very well. I love the original Punch-Out. I'm going to be giving Mike Tyson's Punch-Out a platinum rank. This is a really special game for the NES, and you should go check it out if you have the Nintendo Switch online. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.